In this episode, we talk about a recent decision by the Indian government on ethanol production. We also give you a brief update on AI-powered CCTV cameras in Kashmir that can be used to quickly detect the movement of militants. But first, we talk about Wednesday's security breach in the parliament. Hi, I'm Rahel Philipose, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. On Wednesday afternoon, while 0 hour was underway, two men jumped into the Lok Sabha chamber from the visitors' gallery, raised slogans and opened canisters that emitted a yellow-coloured smoke. Notably, the incident took place on the 22nd anniversary of the 2001 Parliament attack, in which 9 innocents were killed. The fact that the latest intrusion occurred in the new Parliament building has also raised serious security concerns. The Indian Express's deputy political editor Liz Matthew happened to be present in the media gallery of the new Parliament building on Wednesday when the breach took place. Here she tells us what she saw.
So this was the 0 hour when this West Bengal MP was talking about Khagan Murmu was raising an issue. There was some noises from the 4th and 5th enclosures of the visitors gallery. So according to the people who were sitting near them, they thought that this one person has just fallen to the gallery, because from the gallery to the chamber, visitors gallery is it's like steps, so the lowest, the low row of chairs are maybe 10 feet high from the chamber, because it is slightly lower than what we used to have in the other old Parliament house. So there's one young guy jumped to the back row of the table. Then he jumped from there to the other table to the other table. So obviously first everybody thought it is kind of an accident. Then suddenly they realized, I'm quoting some MPs, suddenly they realized it is not an accident, because he's just this person who's jumped is moving towards the speaker's chair. So it was Hanuman Beniwal of RLD who was the first one who jumped over the desk and tried to kind of grab him. So when he realized, the young guy realized that he's getting caught, he took out something from his shoes. It was a canister, and he opened it and there was yellow smoke. So this was happened. So that time I was just getting in, and then I suddenly realized something happened. So I went down, then I saw MPs coming out of the chamber, and one woman MP was shouting like it was poisonous gas attack.
Now, according to Liz, absolute mayhem ensued after the incident. While some of the MPs started running out of the Lok Sabha chamber, others started chasing the intruders. Here Liz tells us about some of the chaotic and, comical scenes she saw play out.
It was very funny reaction. Some people, the responsive system immediately functions. Some MPs immediately took the patas and, tied the, some MPs went to beat him up. Some MPs just ran and wanted to see. So Rahul Gandhi ran to that place to see what is happening. Then other Congress MPs told him it could be poisonous, you should go out. So they forced him to go out of this thing. So some MPs really ran. Some MPs just sat. One woman MP, she was sitting on a seat and this young guy jumped to her table. She got up and stood aside. When he jumped to the other table, she came and sat on her chair. So this was very interesting to see how people react to certain situations.
And eventually the Parliament security personnel and MPs were able to catch the two men. In fact, as Liz mentioned, Rashtriya Loktantrik Party leader Hanuman Beniwal was one of the first leaders who tried to chase the protesters. Liz tells us how they were eventually caught.
So inside, when these MPs captured him, so he started saying that, I am not a Deshdrohi, I'm not anti-national or something, I'm a Deshbhakt. I want to raise certain issue. I just wanted to protest on certain things. And he said that, Tanashahi nahi chalenge. He basically kind of said that don't beat me up. He was almost bleeding because MPs, security guards, all of them kind of beat him up, literally. So then the other person who jumped from the other enclosure, he was captured by other security personnel there. But he also then released this gas, this is color gas. It looks like it didn't smell or something.
The two men were eventually taken into custody and were later identified as 25-year-old Sagar Sharma from Lucknow and 35-year-old Manoranjan D from Mysore. Turns out the two intruders managed to enter parliament with authorization passes provided by BJP MP Pratap Sinha. In fact, there were two more protesters, a man named Amol Shinde and a woman named Neelam, who opened smoke canisters outside parliament. And on Wednesday, all four of them were booked under sections of the Anti-Terror Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Now, Liz says getting into parliament is by no means easy. There are strict protocols in place to prevent incidents like this from taking place. She tells us about some of the existing security measures.
See, when you go to Parliament visitors gallery, you were thoroughly checked. There's a multi-layer security. First, you have to get an MP signature to get the pass. Then your I card is there. Your family details have to be given. There is a primary checking is there. Basically, is there any case against them or something? They will check. Then before issuing pass, these are the primary checking they do. Then what they do is when they come, you have to deposit all your belongings. I mean, you're not allowed to carry the mobile phones. Only your I card and Aadhaar card and your pass can be carried. Then there is another level. There also again you are scanned. Again third layer. Even the minute things from even the cap, ribbons, pan, packets, pens, everything is removed. Anything that can be thrown on MPs are removed from their pockets and all. The visitors are not even allowed to sit cross-legged. You are supposed to sit straight and you cannot talk. You cannot even gesture. Or you cannot even talk to or gesture MPs sitting there. Nothing. It's all considered as a privilege breach,
While it is rare for incidents of this scale to occur, Liz says it's not completely unusual for visitors to protest while at the parliament. In fact, she says they choose to do it in a variety of ways.
We have seen people tearing visitors' pass and throwing, and it is basically used to protest, So that is one way of protesting. So then we have also seen shouting slogans, sitting there. That also. As we know, when the first day of the new parliament building in the Lok Sabha, when the BJP government was to present the women's bill. Obviously, the visitors' galleries were full and they started, just before the session started, they started shouting Modi, Modi, which was strictly stopped and, they were given strict warnings. There were instances of people jumping and even somebody jumped and held the Prime Minister's hand, when Mr. Marsam Rao was the Prime Minister, it happened, two people jumped. But apparently that all were it is all part of protest. Nobody had the intention to harm anybody in the parliament, just to protest.
And it isn't just visitors who have disrupted proceedings in the past. Liz recalls a dangerous incident that involved Congress MP L. Rajgopal and a can of pepper spray.
I remember in 2015, an MP, Congress MP L. Rajgopal from Andhra Pradesh, he was from Andhra Pradesh. The discussions on this bifurcation of Andhra Pradesh was happening, and as we know that there's a tremendous protest against the bifurcation of the state. L. Rajgopal came to the house with the pepper spray. I was sitting in the gallery and he sprayed the pepper spray all around when the house started, and everybody was choking, and even we sitting at the press gallery couldn't breathe properly, so we all were asked to go out. That happened. That was an MP. And there was another incident. One MP called Anand Mohan had brought in a gun into the house. So the MPs are not scanned, like a body scan doesn't happen with them. So there were instances, but it's very rare.
Now, like we mentioned earlier, the latest security breach at Parliament has raised some serious concerns. And opposition MPs, who were on the back foot after a massive defeat in the recently held assembly elections, saw this as an opportunity to target the centre.
So when the House met for a brief, the Speaker took the ownership and there was a meeting called by the Speaker for all party floor leaders of all parties, in which the opposition MPs have asked for stringent steps. They asked for review of the security system. They asked for a report on what happened and thorough inquiry.
Some of the opposition leaders also called for action to be taken against BJP MP Pratap Simha, who, like we mentioned earlier, had given the authorized passes to the two accused. They even drew parallels with the conditions under which TMC leader Mahua Moitra was expelled from Parliament earlier this month.
A few days ago, we know that TMC MP Mahua Moitra was expelled by the Lok Sabha for compromising her login ID and the details. So the opposition MP's contention was, you cited national security issues. See, nothing happened. But here it is, something has happened before your eyes. Somebody has, may not be, all MPs do that, may not be deliberately done that, but somebody has done something and there is an action, and the consequence of that action is physically visible and it is more serious. So you should take action against the MP.
Meanwhile, some other MPs like TMC leader Saket Gokhale criticized the government for turning the parliament into a tourist spot.
All of a sudden we started seeing, that after COVID, there was a lot of restrictions even for the media. The Lok Sabha Secretariat or Rajya Sabha Secretariat were continuing the restrictions for the media. But at the same time, we could see the visitors gallery was full. The MPs used to bring people from the electorates, the children sometimes, school children, college students, university students, and traders, different sect of people to parliament by, in large groups. And we also used to find it difficult to squeeze through and find our way inside. So this was a concern. A lot of people used to say, even we used to tell them that, there is restrictions for the media. The media gallery is almost empty, whereas the COVID restrictions are not applicable for the visitors who are coming from all kinds of places. This was there. And in the new building, of course, there is a new, enthusiasm to see. And there is, of course, the official side also, they want to show off, the new building and their designs and the architecture. And that called pendulum is there. All this kind of thing people are interested in. So there is a new inquisitiveness among the general public to see, and there is an eagerness for the MPs to, more ruling party MPs, I would say, to show that it is something that they built, that is the thing. So it is like a showcasing was happening. It of course raises a lot of concerns, I'll tell you. One is this, just suppose the Prime Minister was there. Then the things would have taken a different turn,
In fact, Liz says that the incident also raised certain concerns about the number of security staff employed to check the visitors thoroughly.
There is a complaint, or there is a whispering from the security personnel side also. There are not enough staff to check all these people who are coming. The parliament security, they say that they are supposed to only identify the persons with the identity card, whereas the CRPF and the Delhi police are responsible for the physical check, scanning, other security issue. So now, yesterday's meeting, the speaker has said that, there is a letter from the Lok Sabha Secretariat gone to the Home Ministry to beef up the security and to review the arrangements inside this thing, because obviously this is CRPF comes under Home Ministry and Delhi Police also. So that will be happening, and there will be some measures there were suggestions that, the visitors gallery could be covered in a glass. I don't know what will there are so many suggestions and proposals on the table. Even for the media, they have introduced new restrictions. You cannot you cannot even come out from the main Magardwar. You cannot surrounding them. There is a different enclosure in front of the Rajya Sabha gate of the old building. You have to stand there, and if you want to talk to somebody, you will have to call them there. The new restrictions have come in. I don't know how long it will last, but of course, tougher times for media also.
Now, the day after the security breach, both houses of parliament saw multiple adjournments as opposition leaders continued to raise their demands for a discussion on the issue. As many as 14 MPs, starting with TMC leader Derek O'Brien, were suspended for unruly behaviour. But Liz says this could end up working in favour of the opposition.
Suspension is not an instrument, or it's not detrimental at all, because the MPs will definitely do that. And suspension also for politics, any case can be there in their advantage, So just that this issue is not something that very common people can directly relate to. Other than that, nothing will happen to the MPs. They will go back to their constituency, or they will stay back. And for them, it is a badge of honor that we protested. We are politicians. We are supposed to protest, and we have got this suspension. Nothing, For them, it means nothing. So they will come back and protest again. I don't know, this kind of step maybe as a warning to the opposition that, we are not going to tolerate this kind of protest and this exhibition of anger inside and on the floor of the house.
And next we talk about a recent decision by the Indian government on ethanol production. Ethanol is a type of alcohol that can be mixed with petrol.
Ethanol is basically what they call as, anhydrous alcohol. That is, it's about 99.9% pure.
That is the Indian Express's National Rural Affairs and Agriculture editor Harish Damodaran, and he says that all alcohols, including ethanol, are products of sugar fermentation, and it is made from a sugar byproduct called C-heavy molasses.
So if you go into a sugar mill, what you do is you first crush the sugarcane. Now, sugarcane contains something like 13.5, 14% total sugar. So when you first crush the cane, you get the cane juice. Then what happens is this juice is sent to a boiling house. So you basically boil the juice and then it basically becomes concentrated. It becomes syrup. Then the next stage is you put this juice, this concentrated, the syrup, you put it for further evaporation, for further into what is called vacuum pans. And then the idea is basically I get the sugar, I basically get it to crystallize. And what remains is what is called molasses. Okay, it's basically the residual liquor, which itself has sugar. So I do basically about 2 to 3 rounds of crystallization. And at the end of it, I get about, 11.5% sugar, which you get as pure crystals. And that is the sugar. And what remains, basically the unrecoverable sugar, which cannot be recovered economically, that goes into this molasses. It goes into this thing called the final molasses, C molasses. So a typical mill would basically produce sugar and you are left with the C molasses, which also contains sugar. So that molasses is the one which you ferment.
And Harish says that mills were producing alcohol, including ethanol, from these C molasses.
So there was a time when India was producing too much of sugar. We were producing something like, 35 million tons of sugar. And our consumption was hardly, 26, 27 million tons. And mills were not able to pay farmers.
And that's when the government decided to use these molasses to blend with petrol.
So it ticked many boxes. One is I can pay sugarcane farmers on time. I can pay them better. The other thing is it'll help cut our petrol import bill. And ethanol is a cleaner fuel than petrol. So when you add ethanol to petrol, actually it helps improve the combustion. It leads to more complete burning of the petrol, the blended petrol. So initially our blending program involved basically using ethanol produced from C molasses. Then the government said, hey, you can start producing from B molasses, which is, you don't need to go till the end and extract all the sugar. You can do it at an earlier stage. So the government said, okay, you produce it from B molasses. Then the government also said, don't produce any sugar. Whatever, as I said in the beginning, you get the sugar syrup, right? And that sugar syrup is 14% sugar, right? And I have evaporated. So they said that you needn't produce any sugar. You can just ferment that entire thing from the juice, and we can produce more ethanol. And therefore, then we can step up our blending. So basically the government said that, and then of course the mills then lose out on sugar, right? They are not able to sell sugar. So government said, okay, we'll pay you higher for the ethanol that you produce from B molasses and from, sugarcane juice or syrup. And plus they said that, okay, you also produce ethanol using grain, So again, India had a lot of surplus rice, right? Which was all rotting in the FCI godowns. So they started using even FCI rice.
Now this ethanol building program became a massive success in the country. Here Harish says how this helped India and the sugar mills as well.
India managed to achieve last year something like 11.8% blending, which is a remarkable thing. And that happened precisely because the government gave differential prices, saying that, okay, I'll give you a higher price if you produce from B-heavy molasses. And I'll give you an even higher price if you produce it straight away from the cane juice, And because of that, many sugar mills started, expanding their distilleries, okay? And many companies started saying that, look, we are no longer just a sugar company. We are an energy company. Some companies even started renaming themselves, instead of sugar saying, we are a biorefinery, and which I think was in the right direction. Because see, sugarcane ultimately is an energy crop. So that energy can be in the form of sugar which we consume, or it can be in the form of, alcohol which we can burn in the cars rather than in our stomachs. And there are some sugar companies that have set up so-called sugar mills which don't produce any sugar. The entire sugar cane they get, they convert it straight into ethanol. So I think the industry was very bullish, that, this is a great program from the government, and many of them expanded their distilleries. I mean, almost like not saying that we won't produce any sugar, but the whole thing, projecting themselves more as fuel companies rather than sugar.
However, recently the program has run into an obstacle. On the 7th of December, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution directed all mills to restrict the use of sugarcane juice or syrup for making ethanol. And this is because India is facing a sugar and rice shortage.
So in July, the government stopped issuing rice from the FCI godowns to the sugar mills for ethanol. And now they have told sugar mills that you cannot produce ethanol directly from cane juice. You can produce it from B molasses and of course the old C molasses. And it was very sudden.
Now this move follows the earlier ban on sugar exports and is aimed at ensuring an adequate domestic supply of sugar, especially considering the fact that the Lok Sabha elections are just a few months away.
India became the second largest exporter of sugar after Brazil. I think last year we exported something like 11 million tons. It was a record exports, So I would say that, this entire surplus of sugar, there was so much of excess sugar. And two ways in which we managed to bring down that surplus was, number one was through exports. And government has banned export of sugar since, I think, May this year. Since May this year, I don't think a single crystal of sugar has gone out of the country. And now they seem to be seeking to tighten the screws further, So now suddenly the government is thinking, can we risk this? What will happen if there's no sugar? What will happen if sugar prices cross, say, 50 rupees? And obviously before elections, etc., they are very fearful, If already rice prices have gone up, wheat prices have gone up, onion has gone up. And then next, if you have this kind of a scenario in sugar, obviously, no government would want to do it. And especially with the elections hardly 4 months away.
And next, we give you an update on an AI-powered CCTV camera in Kashmir. Police in Jammu and Kashmir's Kishtwar district have installed high-focus CCTV cameras that have an integrated facial recognition system powered by artificial intelligence. According to officials, the camera can be used to quickly detect the movement of militants, overground workers of militant groups, and other criminals. The system, developed by a Chennai-based company, has been installed at Thatri, which is the entry point to Kishtwar district from Doda. Soon it will also be replicated at Margon Top and Sinthan Top, which are the two other entry points to the hilly district from Anantnag in South Kashmir. Police already have CCTV cameras installed at various public places across the Union Territory, and officers later use the footage to manually look for the movement of militants. And the new system is integrated with a database containing the photographs of militants and overground workers, which can automatically try to match the faces captured in the CCTV footage with the database. Kishtwar Senior Superintendent of Police Khalil Poswal said that he got the idea of adding AI-powered facial recognition technology to CCTV cameras after visiting an Israeli stall at an expo held in Delhi. These high-focus cameras can automatically screen the faces of the people sitting inside vehicles passing through the points where the system is installed and sound an alert for police in case the face of any person matches any photograph stored in the database. According to Poswal, these cameras are capable of matching the photographs with the database even if a person is wearing a mask. He said, and I quote, "We will approach other districts in the UT, including Kashmir, asking for photographs and other details of militants, OGWs and criminals in their respective areas for storing them in our database so that we immediately come to know if any of them enters Kishtwar district," unquote. He also added that they are planning to develop an app so that all police officials in the district can download it on their mobile phones and get real-time information about the presence or movement of any suspect from among the crowd while taking video of an area where CCTV cameras are not installed. Later, the system will be integrated with the CCTNS, which is the Crime and Criminal Tracking Network and Systems portal at the national level. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. It was written and produced by me, Rahel Philipose, Utsa, Sarmin, and Niharika, Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone who you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcast and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.